Hello. So it was the first Ashes series in England at Wembley Stadium on Saturday. The result wasn't in favour of England, which we're very, very much disappointed about. But there'll be a lot of Australians out there very, very happy with the first Australian Test series win of the series. Going to review the England performance and also the Australian performance and look forward to the second test this weekend. So first up, England. Very, very disappointed with their performance. First up, Sean Wayne as England coach. I think he's really made some bad decisions in terms of selection ahead of the first game. So AJ Brimson, he wasn't picked in the 17, and also Morgan Smithies. Both of these players have great NRL experience. AJ Brimson's played State of Origin, so he has lots of game experience. Morgan Smithies has done great this year with Canberra Raiders, so very disappointed in these two players not being selected. The only really, positive was George Williams was the one who really won creating opportunities. I think the other players all played very poorly. They all played as individuals. So Sean Wayne will have to fix a lot of things up ahead of the second test. Jack Wellesby at fullback was, pretty poor, and the forwards pack were really non-existent. Really, the likes of John Bateman are way past their best. I'm not really sure why Sean Wayne's picked players like John Bateman in the team. But what can you do? At the end of the day, Sean Wayne's picked these players. He's obviously picked them because he thinks they've got a chance of winning the Ashes series. So all we can do is really support the England side going forward. But I just can't see England really winning a game from the evidence on Saturday. The first half was very, very scrappy. Australia and England, that's very rare from the Australians to be very, very scrappy. A lot of drop ball from Australia and England as well. I don't think England had many sets in the Australians' 10 metres, 20 metre lines, to be fair. So the Australians led via Reece Walsh, the only try scored in the first half. Australian did get a penalty and they kicked that via Nathan Cleary. They led 8-0 at the break. Second half, expected a bit more from England. They didn't really show it at all, really. The Australians literally came out, went up a couple of gears. Reece Walsh just cutting through the England defence with like butter, really. I don't know what England can really do for the next test. What tactics they can put in place to kind of prevent Reece Walsh doing that again. So we'll have to wait and see on Saturday what happens in the second test. But once Australia are on a roll, it's pretty hard to stop. So Angus Crichton, he got 2 tries. He should have had maybe 2 in the first half as well. Reece Walsh got his second try on debut as well. Very disappointed from England's perspective in terms of Sean Wayne. His comments after the game were pretty brutal, if I'm honest. Okay, England weren't up to scratch. They weren't up to international standards, but I think he made some comments which were really a bit unnecessary. He could have done behind closed doors, not in front of the media. This is the first game in the first test of the Ashes series. He probably shouldn't have, showed so much, frustration really. But going forward, we'll have to wait and see how England performs in the second test. From an Australian perspective, I thought, first half they were very, very scrappy as well. But once they got going, likes of Nathan Cleary, Cameron Munster got involved in the game a lot more, started opening up the space. They created lots of opportunities, really, Australia. For the second test, I just think it's going to be the same again, really. I can't really see too much change from Australia, apart from the captain, Ayaz Yeo, who went off with concussion. So Harry Grant or Karen Munster will take up the captaincy for Australia. So there won't be much change in the 17. Kevin Walters will be very, very happy with the Australian second half performance, especially, and getting the win over England at Wembley Stadium in front of 60,000 people. Sean Wayne, on the other hand, very disappointed, angry, as a lot of England fans are, but Sean Wayne has to take responsibility for the players he's picked in the squad for the series and also the 17 he puts on the field, really. So what can you do? All we can do is support England as much as we can. They'll have, a bit more advantage up in Liverpool. It's a sellout stadium, Everton's new stadium, so that will help England out a lot. The weather-wise, I think if it rains and it's a bit windy, that will give England a massive a bit more of an advantage over Australia, as they don't really like to play in the wet and the rain. The ruck area, really, they need to slow that down as much as possible, make it a really slugfest for Australia, create no momentum, and try and pin Australia down, keep them in their own half. And England need to really fix up their attack as well. I think they're just trying to go too sideways. It's very easy to defend, that kind of attacking forwards play. So I think England just need to go down the middle and just do the simple stuff right, and they might get a bit of luck. Unfortunately, there is the Australian ref, Grant Atkins, in charge of the second test, so the 50-50 calls will probably go Australians' way also. So what can you do at the end of the day? So we'll just have to tune in on Saturday and support England again. All you Australians watching, you'll be very confident and you'll be very excited to watch the second test, I'm sure. Nathan Cleary, after the game, pretty much said they had fun out there against England. So that just shows you we didn't really cause the Australians much trouble at all. And it was pretty much men versus boys overall in that game. But, we just have to improve. The state of England Rugby League is not great. We've got kids not playing rugby league at school, playing other sports because rugby league's too tough, apparently, and the schools don't want to play rugby league, so they'll be forced to go to, local clubs to play rugby league. Obviously, the standard compared to Australian schools and community clubs is not as high, so there's not as much talent pool in the England Rugby League pool for the future, really, which is really concerning. At the moment, if we look at the players that are in the England squad, not a lot of them have played many international games. Also, the ones that have been included, like Callum Watkins, John Bateman, Alex Walmsley, are kind of past their best. So England are kind of scraping the barrel a bit, really, in terms of their selection point, but definitely need to get AJ Brimson playing probably alongside George Williams for the second test. I definitely think that should be a good option, or at least AJ Brimson should go to fullback position and replace Jack Welsby. I was very disappointed with Mikey Lewis, the Hull KR halfback. I thought he had a great year with Hull KR. He didn't really show much. Maybe he was a bit nervous, I don't know. But if he's going to play in the second test, then he needs to do a lot more and really help George Williams out, because George Williams was the only really creative player in the England side. Herbie Farnworth, he tried his best. Dominic Young, he did not much, really. Just try to make meters. He didn't really get much service either. So there's a lot to think about ahead of the second test. I'm going to give a prediction. Before I do that, Australia fans, let me know in the comments what you think of the first test from you guys. And England fans, let me know what changes you want to see ahead of the second test in Liverpool. So prediction-wise, this weekend, I'm going to go for a big margin win again for Australia. I'm going to go for a 30-point margin win in favour of the Aussies. I literally can't see England scoring that many tries either. I think they only score a couple of tries this weekend, really. I think you could see 5-6 tries scored for Australia. Once the floodgates open, that's it really. England kind of give up. That's what they did in the first test. They kind of just gave up once Australia got a couple of tries. They were like, oh well, we're not going to win. Like the attitude. And there's no really leaders in that England side, really. If you look at the past players, we've had Adrian Morley, Jamie Peacock, Kevin Sinfield, we've had Sam Burgess, players that, inspire your team to play well. I look at this England side, I don't really see any leaders in that side. I don't really see any leaders in the forwards. Don't see leaders in the backs either. Apart from really George Williams, who's trying his best to create something. He is the captain also. If you look at the Australian side, look at the leaders in there. You've got Cameron Munster, Nathan Cleary, Ayazi Yo. Obviously, he's concussed for this weekend's game. Reece Walsh, even the leadership skills, he's come to Thor this year. How amazing he's been for the Brisbane Broncos after the last couple of months and winning the NRL Grand Final with the Broncos. So it's worrying signs for the future of England Rugby League. Australia, they've got a massive talent pool. They don't have to worry about anything, really. They're just going to have to go out and enjoy themselves. And I think the players will enjoy themselves in the second test. I think they got it wrong in terms of, Wembley, the first game, and then second is at Everton, and the third one's at Headingley. I really think they should have done the first test at Headingley to really give England a chance. Headingley Stadium only holds 22,000, I believe, so it would have made it a bit more hostile atmosphere playing in the north of England rather than the south. In a big stadium like Wembley Stadium, it was only 60,000 people, so it wasn't even a full house. It holds 90,000. So I think England got that wrong in terms of playing the games in them orders. However, I think they must have done that because of the football. Obviously, the Premier League's on as well, while the rugby's on, so that probably can't be helped. But before I go, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on socials, Instagram and Facebook. Let me know, guys, your predictions ahead of this weekend's game, what you think the margin will be, and who should be in the squad for England and Australia. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy the second test.